The drywall in apartment 4B was sweating. It started as a damp patch behind my headboard, just a faint yellowish ring that smelled faintly of old copper and wet dirt. I called the landlord, but in a building this old, structural character was the standard excuse for everything. By Tuesday, the patch had grown into a dark, bruised purple oval. It felt warm to the touch. When I pressed my palm against it, the plaster didn't feel like stone or chalk. It gave slightly, like the bruised skin of an overripe peach. I decided to sleep on the couch. At 3:15 a.m., a sound woke me. It wasn't loud, just a wet, rhythmic scrape, 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 like a dog scratching at a door with blunt claws. I sat up, the thin living room blanket sliding off my shoulders. The sound was coming from the bedroom. I grabbed my phone, using the flashlight to cut through the heavy, humid air of the apartment. The smell of copper was overpowering now, thick enough to taste on the back of my tongue. I pushed the bedroom door open. The flashlight beam hit the wall, and my throat locked up. The plaster hadn't just rotted, it had peeled back like a surgical incision. Strips of wallpaper hung like shredded skin around a jagged 2-foot tear in the drywall. But there were no wooden studs or insulation fibers inside. The cavity of the wall was filled with a glistening, dark mass of wet, fibrous muscle. It was breathing. The entire wall expanded and contracted in a slow, agonizingly heavy rhythm. As I stared, paralyzed, a seam in the center of the wet mass split open. It wasn't an eye. It was a mouth, lined with rows of small, jagged calcifications that looked horribly like human teeth, entirely devoid of gums. The scraping sound returned as the teeth ground against one another, chewing on the very studs of the building. I stumbled backward, tripping over the threshold of the door. My phone dropped, the beam bouncing wildly across the ceiling before settling on the floor, illuminating the baseboards. From beneath the gap between the floor and the wall, a thick, dark fluid was beginning to pool, creeping toward my bare feet. Then, from the apartment directly above me, I heard a sudden, sharp scream, instantly muffled, followed by the heavy, sickening sound of something wet collapsing through the ceiling.